Ugh. Oh, what's up, gamers? Now, you're probably wondering what I'm running from back there. And don't worry, I was just about to tell you. I'm running from the one thing I fear most. Toad! Hey, trust me, it's hard to be scared of toads, especially when you have a framed photo of them next to your bed. But not to worry. In all of that running, I found a way to get Toad to stop chasing me. I just have to play a whole game about him. And, to buy us some time, I barricaded the door with Frogger. Wait a minute. Now, you gotta understand, the world wasn't always this terrible, but then 2014 and the release of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker had to happen. Look, Toad has been in Mario games ever since pretty much the start in Super Mario Bros. On the NES, but up until 2014 though, Toad was just that side character in Mario games that they used if they were out of ideas. Captain Toad did technically make his first appearance in the Mario Galaxy games though, but nobody actually cares about that, let's be honest, because in Super Mario 3D World, this was when he became actually playable in his very own side levels. These levels were like little dioramas, where you had to do multiple small puzzles to get all of the green stars. People liked these levels so much that the Mario team joked about making these side levels into their very own game. And that was the biggest mistake in existence. Of course, these little jokes eventually became a reality with the announcement of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker on the Wii U during E3 of 2014. Of course, since this game was exclusive to the Wii U, it didn't sell that well, but when the Nintendo Switch came out, Nintendo saw an opportunity to port Wii U games to the system, and Treasure Tracker was eventually part of this with the announcement of it being ported to both 3DS and Switch. Fine, I guess if it's the only way to get Toad to stop chasing me, I'll take a look at Toad Treasure Tracker on the Switch. When you get into the game itself, you'll find both Toad and Toadette about to get a star on top of a temple, until all of a sudden a giant bird named Wingo appears, who then proceeds to steal the star, and Toadette by proxy since Toadette just refuses to let go of the star for some reason. And just like that, we're off on our adventure. Alright, now we have our basic premise of adventure. Just get Toadette back. That shouldn't be that hard, right? Each level consists of 4 basic objectives, which include collecting the 3 hidden gems, finding the hidden Toad, completing the secret objective, and beating the level in a certain amount of time. Beating the level and getting all the gems as we go along will just happen as we play, while the secret objective will only be revealed after this first playthrough. And then after that, we have to go through the level again to find a pixel Toad that is hidden somewhere throughout the level. The pixel Toads were actually only accessible on the Wii U through Amiibo, which is quite surprising that they didn't keep this in the Switch re-release, but hey, I'm not complaining. But anyways, in the first 10 levels, you'll see a wide variety in settings, puzzles, and enemies, which serve as the basis for most other levels you'll see in this game. The first 2 levels are just basic puzzles to get to the end within a grassland and desert temple respectively, while the third level is where you'll see more of a shift in style due to the puzzle being based upon using the touchscreen to move objects until you get to the star. This is probably an important time to mention the touch controls. This game was of course built for the Wii U, so the touchscreen on the gamepad was used, but when you move that over to the Switch, it just doesn't work that well while docked. Handheld mode on the Switch, however, works great, but unfortunately, I had to play docked for most of this game. Then on to the 4th level, which doesn't introduce any new features, so just assume from here on out that if I skip a level, it just doesn't have anything new or of note to talk about. So, skipping on to the 5th level, this is where the double cherry is shown off. The double cherry was originally introduced in Super Mario 3D World, where it just boiled down to having multiple of your character on screen at once. But in Treasure Tracker, they used it as a mechanic to make you think about how to use 2 characters at once to solve a puzzle. I love this mechanic because it just makes you think about how progressing with one Toad will affect the other. But, of course, there has to be that annoying feature to bring the game down, and that's the cogwheel. It's first shown off in the 6th level where you have to spin the wheel to move platforms. It might not seem that bad, but when you consider it just slows down the pace of gameplay for no reason. And on top of that, if you're in handheld mode, you have to spin it a bunch on the screen, leaving a bunch of fingerprints. You can probably understand why I dislike its inclusion. And then, just when I think I don't like this game, they pull me back in at the 8th level, where it has an actually good minecart level. The minecart levels that I'm referring to are on rails, pun not intended, shooters, where you really don't have to do anything unless you're going for the gems. But if you do choose to go for the gems, then you need to shoot some turnips at blocks, enemies, and finally the gems themselves to collect them. In fact, the turnip shooting can also be found outside of these minecart levels in the use of cannons like what is shown in the 13th level. It basically just boils down to a relaxing and actually fun breakaway from the normal gameplay. After this, you can find one of the last big shifts in gameplay during level 10. Within this level, you'll be faced with a mini-boss-like enemy named Dragodon, which will shoot fire at you and slowly raise the lava as you climb the volcano to get to the star. This creates a fairly tough challenge due to you basically being timed on how long you can spend at each puzzle. I never found this to be too infuriating or stress-inducing, but I could understand why some dislike these levels, especially as the challenges seen in these levels get harder as the game progresses. Skipping a little far ahead to level 15, this is where we're first introduced to the dash panels. As their name suggests, upon walking over them, you're forced into a speedy dash. And in most levels they're used as a way to get through the level as the platforms below you disappear. But later in the game, they use these panels in very unique ways, which can lead to some annoying levels, which I'll talk about when we get there. Finally, we're at the 18th level, which sees us climbing a tower to reach Wingo and to save Toadette. Throughout this climb, you'll find most of the features that were introduced in the past levels. It does this in a recap type manner where it refines these challenges and puts your skills to the test. And all while doing this, Wingo is flapping their wings making large gusts of wind which will push you in that direction, which ended up in me dying quite often by falling off the tower. But once you reach the top of the tower, you'll find yourself on top of a large pile of gold in which you'll fight Wingo on top of. Wingo's basic attacks consist of the aforementioned gusts of wind, but also lightning strikes and summoning large turnips on top of you. You'll have to pull these turnips up and throw them at Wingo at least 3 times to defeat them. With Wingo defeated though, Toad grabs the star and celebrates with Toadette by going on a minecart ride while the credits roll in the background. That wasn't that hard. I don't know why I've been putting it off for so long. Now, I just gotta move on to the special stages. That'll be it, right? Oh, come on! Of course, I can't have nice things, so there has to be a second chapter. It starts out just like the first one, but Toad's the one to get captured instead of Toadette this time. Toadette's just a basic palace swap of Toad, so that means no new features for the character themselves, which is quite a bummer. Even if it was a small change like a speed increase or if they could pull things out of the ground quicker, it'd be nice because it'd separate them more. Just like the first chapter, there's only 18 levels, but unfortunately there's barely any new mechanics introduced. Something that is of note though is level 13, where you have to use the clear pipes to get to the star. Just like in 3D World, you can't change direction while in the pipe unless you get out of the pipe or find a break in the road. This makes a unique environment in my mind as you try to find the best possible way to find the gems and get to the star. In my opinion, it's just an okay inclusion though. I don't mind it being in the game, but I also don't think it really adds anything of value. Another thing that would be important to at least mention would be the slopes, which are shown off in the first level of Chapter 2. I mean, they're neat, but they don't really add that much of a difference in gameplay, so they aren't that much. Just like the first level though, the fourth level doesn't add that much either, just the invisible platforms that reveal themselves with light. Both these features aren't that cool, but I feel that it'd be important just to make a quick mention of them. Last thing I want is for invisibility fans to hate me for not mentioning the invisible platforms. The rest of these levels in this chapter are just using old mechanics to create new interesting levels. Some levels that I especially liked were 6 and 12. Level 6 because it can serve as an actual challenge on your first time through, because you have to account for how far you can throw the turnip, the moving platform, and the jumping hammer bros. The music in this level is also super amazing, adding to the mood and stress in this level. And oh yeah, the music, I should probably go over it. A lot of the songs from what I can tell are reused/remixed from 3D World, which makes sense due to it basically being a side story to it. It does suck that they aren't all original tracks, but I only say that because the original songs we get are so good. Like most Mario songs, they're very catchy and can get stuck in your head easily. Something I've noticed though is that they feel more adventurous, especially in the remixes. I mean, I'd be surprised if they weren't, considering the name of the game is Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Coming back from that little side tangent, I liked level 12 as well due to it being one of the few puzzles that actually took me a while during my first playthrough. You see, in this level you have to use P-switches to change if a white or brown fence is up. This unlocks some areas but locks others. The puzzle comes in when you're trying to find which P-switches to hit and in what order to reach, as well as open the door to the star. Overall, a pretty fun and challenging level. Other than those two levels, there really isn't anything of note in this chapter, which is a little disappointing. The 18th and final level of this chapter is unlike the first in the fact that you have to defeat each enemy on a floor before being able to progress. And surprisingly, there isn't a boss fight. So once you get the star, that's gotta be it, right? We played as both Toads. That's gotta be it, right? Oh, come on! I'm gonna need a vacation after this. On to chapter 3 with 28 levels this time instead of 18. And none of them have something new for me to talk about. Instead of at least a few new features, they did what most of the chapter 2 levels did. So, basically nothing. But instead, they did this for all 28 levels. I mean, this is when the game does reach its max difficulty, because by now, it expects you to be skilled enough for it to not have to hold your hand. And I'm glad about this, because it makes this section feel even more repetitive. And speaking about being repetitive, if you were to go for 100% like most would when playing a Mario game, you have to play all of the game's levels at least 4 times. You gotta understand how annoying it is to have to play a level over and over because you can't find the hidden toad or beat the time challenge. And it gets even more annoying when you can barely beat the level on the normal playthrough. Chapter 3, level 28 is the 8th sin. You gotta understand why I hate this level so much. First playthrough, I lost 32 lives just to this one gosh dang turn. Then, another 14 to this section here. This gem is super annoying to get to because of that really sharp turn you have to do. The second gem is the easiest part of this level because you just gotta hope that the platforms are correctly timed, and thankfully they are most of the time. But then the third gem makes you go in a weird direction at that turn where I lost 14 lives at earlier. Then, in the second playthrough, I have to do all those weird directions over again and multiple times in hopes of somehow getting 150 coins. So, I lost another 43 lives trying to do that. So, I'm just not in a good mood now, right? And then, I get hit with Pixel Toad, which is impossibly difficult to get while docked because the pointer sucks. And he's only on screen for a few seconds, and even in handheld mode it sucks because the screen is so small, meaning Pixel Toad is basically a speck. Finally, you have the stupid time trial mode, which leads to me stressing out a bunch due to me thinking to myself that I'm being too slow. Oh yeah, the stupid time trial modes. They are so useless in the grand scheme of things. Their only purpose is to artificially extend this game's playtime. Most of them aren't that challenging, so they just end up feeling like a waste of time, and the ones that are challenging are so annoyingly difficult, it makes them feel like a waste of time because I don't feel like I'm getting any better at them. Then, if you move to the last level, its puzzles take so long, and you can easily fall to your death from the gusts of wind. The final boss fight does some fake out maneuvers, making you waste the big turnips, taking up more of your time. Then, the secret challenge takes up your time because if you die at all during the second part of the tower, or the boss fight, you have to exit out of the level and re-enter it, all because of a stupid checkpoint that doesn't save your coins. Finally, imagine going through this insanely long level and boss fight under an extremely strict time limit of 240 seconds, because guess what? That's the time trial. I'm not liking this game that much anymore, but hey, at least all that's left is the special stages and I'll be done. Oh, come on! In a nice change of pace from the last few levels, we actually have some original levels, which are based off of Captain Toad's appearances in Mario Odyssey. These are what I wish most of the game's levels were like, actually both fun and challenging puzzles and objectives that are fun to go through multiple times, but instead, we got levels that feel very similar to previous levels in the game or even that chapter. And speaking about similar levels, the rest of the levels in this chapter are levels that we have seen before, but with another annoying challenge like helping the Toad Brigade, who die way too easily I might add, and avoiding a mummy version of yourself that chases your exact steps. That leads us to the final challenge of the game, which serves as its own Champion's Road. Mummy Maze Forever! To serve as some context, if you did enough challenges every once in a while, a gold card would appear over your past levels. And these you would do a quick minigame in hopes of getting a lot of gold which would transfer to lives. And one of these minigames was Mummy Maze, where you'd go through a maze collecting coins as a mummy chases you. Not that hard, right? Now add a bunch of enemies, stupid doorways, and 50 floors, and you got Mummy Maze Forever! Now, when you complete this, you gain access to a crown, which Toad and Toadette will wear in all future levels. And I'd love to sit here and say I beat Mummy Maze Forever and got the crown, but I didn't, and I don't feel like wasting any more time on it. It all boils down to just RNG to see if you get lucky doorway and enemy placement. Now, of course, I'll probably still get the crown during my free time, but I don't see the point in trying to work around me getting some stupid crown. I mean, I got to floor 48 and then died. You gotta understand how bad that feels. Please tell me this is it. Please tell me I can finally move on to the special stages and be done with this game. Finally. The special chapter uses a mix of new and old stages. Now, I know what you're gonna say. Didn't you just go on a rant about you not liking the reuse of stages? To which I say yes, but they actually did something interesting to the stages this time. They remixed the stages to make it a minecart level, or a boo hunting level, or a crown capture level. Boo spotting basically is just defeating all boos in a level, but crown capture combines collecting stuff and a time limit in an actually fun way. There's also a neat boss with Wingo, where there's a fake and real one, and you have to guess which is the real one to be able to defeat them. The final level in this special chapter is also a refined version of Mummy Maze Forever, where there's now only 30 floors, not as many enemies, and no stupid doorways. In this level, to climb floors, you just have to pull a mole out of the ground this time to reveal the portal box. The special challenge is also to do the exact same thing, but with the Toad Brigade as well, which is a little challenging. But overall, this is an actual fun last challenge in the game, and what I wish Mummy Maze Forever was from the start. I don't really know how to feel about Treasure Tracker. It can be a great puzzle game at times, but also a repetitive mess of a game at the same time. But what I can say is the game is great for the Switch, as a game you just pick up and play every once in a while. Oh wait, I got a text. Stop running from me, man, and unlock this dang door. I got your food to deliver to you. Huh.